At the end of the Tang Dynasty, there was a book called Zazu, which recorded a story of a person from the moon coming to Earth as follows. During the reign of Emperor Wenzong of Tang, a cousin of Zheng Renben and scholar Wang got lost while roaming on Mount Songshan. They encountered an old man in white sleeping, so they called out to wake him and ask for directions. After the old man in white woke up, the first thing he did was tell them some very strange things. He said that the moon was formed from 7 precious treasures. The moon is like a smooth, round sphere, and the light on it is due to sunlight shining onto uneven and bumpy areas. The old man also said there are 82,000 repair workers living on the moon, and he was one of them. Afterward, he gave directions to the 2 men, and after speaking, he suddenly vanished. Regarding this story of the white-robed person from the moon coming to Earth, some say it's merely an ancient fantasy. However, if we examine it closely, we find that the description of the moon by the white-robed man does somewhat resemble the findings from NASA's lunar exploration. First of all, we know that the moon is indeed a spherical body, and its surface is uneven and bumpy. However, this was only discovered after Galileo invented the telescope in 1609. So, if the old man in white during the Tang Dynasty was an ordinary person from Earth, how could he have known this? Moreover, the old man in white said the moon was made of precious elements. Unexpectedly, after analyzing the samples Neil Armstrong brought back from the moon, scientists were shocked to find that 99% of the moon's composition consists of 7 elements: oxygen, silicon, magnesium, calcium, aluminum, and titanium, which happened to match exactly what the old man said. Could it be that someone from the moon really appeared during the Tang Dynasty? And the old man also said there are 82,000 people on the moon who are repairing and maintaining it. Could this possibly be true as well? Today, we also talk about the idea that the moon is an artificial construct. In the past, we talked about Earth's 2 neighboring planets, Mars and Venus. However, the celestial body closest to us, the moon, has yet to be discussed. Logically speaking, among all the planets, the one we should know the most about is the moon. Yet even though humans have landed on the moon many times and conducted on-site surveys, instead of solving mysteries, they have only uncovered more. The truth about the moon has become increasingly blurry and uncertain. So what is really going on? What secrets are there on the moon that humans cannot uncover? In the 1960s, the United States and the Soviet Union engaged in a space race. The Soviet Union was the first to send an artificial satellite into space, while U.S. President Kennedy declared that before the end of the 1960s, they would send a man to the moon. As a result, the government established NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. A team of top scientists worked day and night, even creating a spacecraft to take humans to the moon. Finally, on July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon's surface and uttered the famous words, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." At that very moment, hundreds of millions of people were watching the live broadcast, witnessing a giant leap in human history, the moon landing. Such a once-in-a-lifetime achievement caused all of humanity to cheer with joy as American technology had reached its peak. Logically, humanity should have moved forward from there. For example, by building a permanent base on the moon so humans could migrate there, or organizing tourist trips to the moon. But strangely, the U.S. didn't do that. On the contrary, after astronauts landed on the moon for the 6th time, they stopped and ended the Apollo program, no longer sending people to the moon. Even stranger, the Soviet Union, America's rival in the space race, also quietly stopped its moon program at the same time. And just like that, half a century has passed, and no one has returned to the moon. Why did it have to be this way? On this issue, the US government has always claimed it was due to financial difficulties. However, such answers have always been hard to convince the public. Someone with inside knowledge came forward and revealed, in fact, during the moon landing, the astronauts encountered interference from an unknown force, which ultimately forced both the US and the Soviet Union to abandon further scientific missions on the moon. It's said that hours before Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon, something had already happened. At the time, the entire world was watching a live broadcast of the conversation between Apollo 11, Armstrong, and NASA's Space Center in Houston. Just as the spacecraft successfully entered lunar orbit, Armstrong suddenly exclaimed, "These things are enormous. My God, it's unbelievable. I have to tell you there are other spacecraft here. They're lined up on the far side of the crater. They're watching us." Right after that, NASA immediately cut the signal. Clearly, they had known about this in advance and were prepared. Otherwise, in such a situation, they would have urgently asked what had happened to Armstrong. How could they just cut the broadcast when the whole world was watching? And in the end, what did Armstrong actually see? NASA has still never given an explanation. Four years later, NASA publicly released some results from its moon missions. In a classified statement, NASA revealed that all 25 astronauts who participated in the Apollo missions had encountered unidentified flying objects, UFOs. Wernher von Braun, the man in charge of the U.S. lunar landing program at the time, also stated during his lifetime that during many Apollo missions, the astronauts were watched by some mysterious force. In 1979, Maurice Chatelain, a former NASA communications manager, also said that astronauts encountering UFOs on the moon was a common occurrence. One prevailing theory suggests that all manned moon missions stopped abruptly 50 years ago due to fear of extraterrestrial energy present on the moon. Conspiracy theorists believe that the moon is the ideal base for intelligent alien life to study Earth. It's not too far, and more importantly, one face of the moon is always facing Earth, allowing aliens to remain hidden on the far side. We also know that the moon is a very special celestial body. The front side of the moon always faces the Earth, while the back side always turns away, meaning that no matter how we observe from Earth, we can never see the far side of the moon. So, what exactly is there? There are two explanations. One is that the moon's rotation period and its orbital period around the Earth are the same, causing it to always face the same side toward Earth. The other explanation is that the moon does not rotate on its axis like other celestial bodies, but simply keeps one side fixed toward Earth. This makes the far side of the moon even more mysterious. A classified video once circulated on the internet, rumored to have been hidden by NASA, in which images showed a city in the shadowed region on the far side of the moon that viewers found hard to believe. In the video, the city ruins stretched for several kilometers across the moon's surface, with large-scale bases, enormous dome ruins, countless cave-like remains, and even some square or rectangular structures arranged in perfect order. From an altitude of about 5 to 8 kilometers above the moon, they looked very much like a city on Earth. Up to now, 44 areas on the moon have revealed different artificial objects. Ken Johnston, a senior NASA employee who worked at the agency for 23 years and participated in many space missions, later became responsible for processing photos from moon landings. He revealed that American astronauts had discovered ancient relics on the moon and photographed them, including an anti-gravity device and even a suspected alien base. However, high-ranking NASA officials ordered all the photos to be destroyed. Johnston did not comply and secretly kept them. According to Russian sources, satellite images inadvertently released by the U.S. government show that an extraterrestrial civilization truly exists on the moon. Because the psychological impact of such a shocking discovery on society was unknown, the information was immediately sealed before it could be officially announced. In fact, the U.S. government's research on the moon was not limited to astronauts. The CIA was also involved in major efforts, including recruiting individuals with supernatural abilities and using remote viewing, also known as clairvoyance, to investigate the moon. So what secrets did those with clairvoyance see on the moon that cannot be revealed to humanity? Since 1972, the CIA, in cooperation with Stanford Research Institute under the supervision of the Department of Defense, began conducting remote viewing experiments. Their first test subject was Ingo Swann, who was officially recognized by the CIA after hundreds of experiments. Dr. Russell Targ and Harold Puthoff, who led the project, confirmed that Swann could remote view target locations using only geographical coordinates and accurately draw diagrams. In April 1973, the CIA asked Swann to remote view Jupiter. Just 3 minutes later, Swann stated that the first thing he saw was a glowing ring surrounding Jupiter. At that time, even top scientists and astronomers had no idea such a ring existed. In November of the same year, NASA launched Pioneer 10, the world's first deep space probe, which sent back the first images confirming that Jupiter is indeed surrounded by a ring, fully verifying Swann's extraordinary remote viewing ability. In February 1975, Swann participated in a top-secret mission primarily focused on remotely viewing the dark side of the moon. The person in charge, Mr. Axelrod, gave Swann a set of geographical coordinates on the far side of the moon. Through clairvoyance, Swann saw several structures resembling buildings with glass domes and slowly moved into one of them. CIA staff at the time noticed that Swann was sweating cold and quickly asked him what he saw. Swann said he saw several very tall humanoid beings on the far side of the moon, and they had become aware that someone was observing them, so they were actively trying to find him. This terrified Swann. Axelrod immediately woke him up, but the sudden awakening caused Swann to experience severe pain, and it took him a while to recover. This session was later recorded in an official report, but after the collapse of the Soviet Union and the end of the Cold War, the remote viewing program was shut down. The mainstream scientific view today holds that the moon is a natural creation of the universe, with 4 main hypotheses regarding its formation: the capture theory, the co-formation theory, the fission theory, and the giant impact theory. However, all 4 theories have significant flaws, and to this day, none have been conclusively proven. In the 1960s, Soviet scientists Mikhail and Alexander claimed that the moon is not a natural satellite, but a massive hollow sphere created by a highly advanced civilization, as many of its features appear scientifically inexplicable. They calculated that the moon's density is only 60% that of Earth, leading to their theory. American scientist Harold Clayton Urey also supported the hollow moon hypothesis. After studying large quantities of lunar rock, he concluded that the moon's very existence was scientifically questionable. He believed the low density was due to its mostly hollow internal structure. Additionally, the moon is unusually large. Its diameter is 27% of Earth's, while moons of other planets rarely exceed 5%. The moon rotates in sync with Earth but in the opposite direction, and at an unusually fast speed. Unlike most natural satellites with elliptical orbits, the Moon's orbit is perfectly circular, a feature typically found only in artificial satellites. Furthermore, Earth's gravitational pull on the Moon is far weaker than the Sun's, yet the Moon remains in stable orbit. These anomalies suggest the Moon might not be naturally formed. Such oddities have led astronomers to question whether the Moon was created artificially. Inner rocky planets like Mercury, Venus, and Mars lack moons, making Earth's moon even more exceptional. Though the Moon has countless craters, most are shallow. Scientists estimated that a 16-kilometer-wide asteroid hitting Earth at 50,000 kilometers per hour would create a crater at least 64 to 80 kilometers deep. However, the deepest known lunar crater, Gagarin, is nearly 300 kilometers wide, but only 6.4 kilometers deep. If such an asteroid hit Earth, the crater would be over 1,100 kilometers deep. This led some scientists to believe that the Moon's outer shell is made of extremely hard material. In short, the Moon could be a massive hollow metallic sphere with a super-dense outer crust. But who could have built it? Many believe it was created by a prehistoric advanced civilization. According to this theory, a highly developed human race existed long before our own, and they created the Moon to light Earth during the night. This reminds me of the movie Moonfall. Watching it, I felt the director might have had deeper insight. Some scientists even suggest that the Moon is an alien spacecraft, sparking further debate. Regardless of which theory you believe, the Moon doesn't appear to be a naturally formed celestial body. Its ability to reflect sunlight and illuminate Earth is incredibly eco-friendly. No need for electricity or pollution. This idea is unexpectedly brilliant. It can light up the entire dark side of Earth at once. Although this concept may sound unbelievable, it's not hard to imagine. If modern technology could someday reach such a level, could we do the same? If a prehistoric civilization once existed with such advanced technology, perhaps they really did place the Moon in orbit to brighten Earth's night skies. As the saying goes, if something is true, the more it's explained, the clearer it becomes. In 1969, when Apollo 11 was about to land on the Moon, many scientists believed it would finally unlock its secrets. But instead, the Moon only became more mysterious. From this angle, could many of the theories we were taught eventually be overturned? If you followed this far, do you feel, as I do, that your imagination has expanded a little more? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below the video. That's all for today's discussion. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much, and see you next time.